because and then she also asked about work. That was a big one. Will you take time off? How much will you take off? Have you told work? Are you prepared, again, because I was single, I am single still. Are you prepared to handle your recovery by yourself? So that's a lot of what your first meeting with the social worker would be. Be honest with them as well, and do not be afraid. They're not asking because they're trying to scare you out of this. If anything, they want you to say, wow, that kind of scares me. I don't know. Let's work on it. They're trying to figure out, where do they need to give you the most help? And that's why they're asking. They want to know, where can we make you feel comfortable, supported, and helped? So that's your first initial call. You will have these calls pretty much every 3 months. You will be meeting with the same 3 people, not the same 3 people, but the same 3 jobs. You'll be meeting with the nurse, the dietitian, and the social worker. And they will continue to ask these questions and continue to touch base, continue to see where you're at, track your progress. Your dietitian will ask you to continuously still make changes. As you get closer to surgery, you're going to be on kind of like a diet. It's not going to be super restrictive, but the closer you get to surgery, the more they're going to say, we want to see lean protein. We want to see this. We want to see this. We want to see that.
The closer you get.
They want to get you to a certain protein level and then see, can you stick with that? They're not going to be like, oh my God, Stephanie, we said 80 grams of protein and you're not doing it. You're out of the program. What they're trying to do is say, this is what life is going to be like after the program, and we want to get you in the mindset now.
The more habits you can build up front, the better.
Yes.
We just want you to get in that mindset and in those habits and thinking the way that you need to think post-surgery as early ahead as they can.
Correct. So remember, this is a year, roughly, that you're in this program. So almost every 3 months, you're going to be meeting with this team. You'll be doing blood work every 3 months without fail. Doesn't matter if you have the most perfect blood work in the world. You will continuously be doing blood work because they need to see where you at. Be prepared that you'll be on vitamin D or things because they need to get your levels up. It won't stop you from having surgery, but I had to get on like prescription vitamin D. I was on 10,000 units a day because they were like, get this fucking up. Crank it up. So those are the people that you'll meet with the most often throughout pre and post. You'll also meet with the internal medicine doctor. This person's whole job is to, again, deep dive into your health, your history, and then they will assign you to the appropriate surgeon.
It was so easy.
This was in person. This was my one of my only in-person appointments. Everything else was virtual, by the way. And not even virtual. Sorry, it was a phone call. So you do not see these people virtually.
Correct. No, they were. Yeah.
So then you see your internal medicine doctor and he goes over, what medication are you on? What's your family history? You know, I'm going to take your blood pressure. I'm going to weigh you. I'm going to do all this stuff. And he dives deep. He does not want to shoot the shit. No. He doesn't want to talk about anything except your fucking family history and your current medical history. And he will ask the questions. Don't ramble. Don't go off topic. Like, he's got this like methodical, away we go. And he's going to be taking notes the whole time he's looking at you. He's going to get you to walk around the hall. That was really funny. Go. I need to see you walk up and down the hall, then take your blood pressure again. He does all of it. And then he says, okay, I'm going to go assign you to a surgeon. This was great. He told me, I want you off this medication. I want you off this medication. You'll see him closer to surgery. So he'll take you off your medication. He'll say, you know, you're going to be on a 2-week liquid diet. I don't have the date yet, but you know, when I do, or no, yes.
He didn't tell me. He did. He went through everything you just said. And then made me bring all my supplements.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. He made me bring all my supplements. And so he's sitting there. And as Hannah said, he's taking tons of notes.
Tons.
And he would pick up the supplement container and go, what's this for? And I would tell him, and he'd literally be like, garbage.
Yeah.
And then he'd get next and be like, what's this for? And I would tell him, he'd go, okay.
Yeah. He was hilarious.
And so after he's like, if you want to take these, that's fine, but they're not going to do anything for you.
Waste of time.
It's like, okay.
He was like,
you went the hall and you come back and he like redictates all of his notes.
Verbally, yes.
Verbally into a microphone.
Yeah.
So you have to be very quiet when you come back in. So then you walk the hall and you hook yourself up to the oxygen monitor thing. And you just sit there like in this awkward moment while he's dictating all this stuff about you into the microphone. And I remember sitting there trying to be calm because I wanted my numbers to be good. But I was also trying to listen to everything he was saying about me.
Yes.
But it's terms that I don't understand.
No.
So then I remember, like, in my head, I'm like, remember that. So that I could get in after and start Googling, what does this mean? What did he say?
I didn't remember shit.
Yeah. And I was like, what don't I do? What? But it was fine. Like, everything was fine.
Oh, it was all good. Yeah. I thought he was going to name my surgeon. He didn't.
It was so funny. It was so funny.
My numbers were sky high, but he did the same thing to me. He was like, why are you on this? And I was like, well, a cardiologist said that you wouldn't do surgery unless I was on this. And he was like, don't be on this. And then the cardiologist was like, who the fuck is he to tell you? And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just saying. He told me I don't need to be on this. So I'm not going to be on it. He's funny as shit. God, I love him. So that's your internal medicine doctor. The reason I was confused is because there is one more in-person. Never mind. I remember now. Okay.
Then you meet the surgeon.
You meet the surgeon. So you see your internal medicine doctor, and this is
he gives you the final yes or no as to whether or not you can have surgery.
Yeah, you probably meet the internal medicine doctor 6 months out. 5 to 6 months out. Because I remember asking you like 7 fucking times when you saw him. So about 5-ish months before you're actually going to have surgery, you'll see the internal medicine doctor. So don't get excited oh my God, I met him.
He gives you the final, he gives you the actual approval for surgery.
Correct. And assigns your surgeon.
Go through all of those nurse, dietitian, social worker meetings again. So you get really excited because you're like, oh, I met him. I met him. No.
Calm down. Calm your excitement. You got another 6 months.
He's just approving you for round 2.
You're halfway. You're halfway in the process. So you meet with him or her or whoever the hell you're going to meet with. And again, this was just our Guelph bariatric program. Every other program is insanely different, and some move in like months. Ours takes a year. So you meet with him. He assigns your surgeon, and then you go back to your just meetings with the social worker, dietitian, nurse, and you wait and you wait and you wait. And then you get the call. Don't call them. They'll call you. But then you get the call.
Yeah.
Hey, Hannah, we have a surgery date for you. It's time to book your surgeon appointment. And it's like, what the fuck? And they're like, we're thinking sometime in March. They still won't give you the date on the phone. They'll say, we have a date for you. We're not telling you, but we need you to come in and meet the surgeon. So that was meeting the surgeon was, I believe, a month and a half before my surgery, if I'm not mistaken. I went in, you meet with the nurse. You see the surgeon for like a half a second. You meet with the nurse, and the nurse is going to do almost the same thing the internal medicine doctor did. Walk the hall. Let's look at stuff. Here's the blood work. You have to do blood work before this meeting. Let's go over your diet. Like, she basically acts as nurse, social worker, and dietitian and goes over everything and makes notes. And then she goes, congratulations, you have Dr. Matt. And I was like, okay, don't know who that is. And she's like, you're going to go over and meet Dr. Matt. He's next door. And you go in, and like, boy, surgeons are methodical. I brought my mom with me because I was like, Mom, you're a nurse. He was like, your mother can go sit over there. I'm here to talk to you. And I was like, okay. And he goes through, or your surgeon will go through. Here are all the surgeries available, which for us was bypass, sleeve, duodenal switch, and something else I do not remember. I'm going to tell you all the pros and cons of every surgery. I'm going to tell you all the risks and complications of every surgery. And then you, my dear, will get to choose what surgery you want. Now, they heavily push bypass. Heavily. It's the gold standard, do bypass. I was like, I want sleeve. And he's like, are you sure? I said, yep. He's like, on the day of surgery, you could walk into the operating room, look me in the eyes and say, I want bypass. And you can make that choice. You get to choose up until the moment we knock you out what surgery you want. We've made our recommendations, but I will do whatever one you want to do. And I said, I want sleeve. And he said, okay, totally fine. But you have until surgery to make your choice. But they do heavily push bypass. But I was not over 400 pounds. I was not pre-diabetic, and I had no comorbidities that would require me to have bypass. Some of you, unfortunately, will be required to have it. I was young, and I believed that sleeve was non-invasive and that I could do the work to maintain it. So I picked sleeve. And I think, Steph, you had the same experience?
He sat down. He had like little diagrams of each.
Yeah.
He walked through them all. But then he also drew them out for me, also one at a time.
Yep.
Then went through all of them.
I'll do this.
Yeah. And he said same thing, that, they typically recommend bypass, but it was up to me. I said, I want sleeve. He said, why? He made me explain why I wanted
exactly.
Which is fair. And same things you did. I said, I think it was less invasive, faster recovery typically. The complications were very similar. There was a little bit more with bypass risk-wise that I wasn't totally comfortable with. And then I said, look, I feel comfortable and confident that I can put the work in. Knowing sleeve typically doesn't lose as much as bypass. It's close. But I said, I feel comfortable and confident that I can put in the work I need to do to get me where I want to be. Yeah. And so he said, yep. He goes, you know what? If that's what you want, that's what we'll do. You change your mind. That's cool. But here's the paper. Sign it. Go to the desk. Get your surgery date. And you're
all good in the hood.
Go home.
Yep. And that same thing, like he didn't shame me for picking sleeve. He was like, yeah, you know, sleeve gets on their feet quicker. Like you do know about the weight loss. I said, yeah, but everything I saw was that it was like minimal. He's like, yeah, it is. The differences are minimal. You know, here's the pros and cons. The complications from bypass were just too, not interested in it.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what we'll do. But he was great. He was like, great, you're approved. You're signed off. Go to the front desk. You're going to get your OptiFast and you're going to get you're going to get your date. So the one thing you will have to pay for is your OptiFast. It's like $120, but you go up to the front, you sit down again. They go, Hannah, March 13th, that's going to be your date. And I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And they were like, you're going to buy your OptiFast. Do you want chocolate, vanilla, or a mix? And I was like, I don't know, fucking mix, I guess. So then you buy your OptiFast and they give you all the paperwork. You're going to start your OptiFast on this day. It goes till this day. And like they give you like a binder of stuff, like all the paperwork you need for surgery. And then they go, great, we've also booked you in for your pre-op appointments. You'll have 2. You need to come in the day before surgery for this pre-op appointment to get all this blood work and get everything checked. And then there was one like a couple days before that for me, where I think I had to meet with the anesthesiologist and he had to get my weight and my medical history. And I had to talk to the social worker. That was like, I think a week before surgery. And then the day before surgery, I did have to go in for my nurse pre-op, which was my blood work and just a bunch of stuff that they do so that when you come in for surgery, you come in, you change, and in you go. And for surgery, they gave me the option. I know I'm jumping ahead stuff. I'll let you talk about the pre-op stuff. But when it came time to surgery, I came in, I got in my gown, and that was it. We didn't have to do any blood work because we had done it the day before. Everything was good to go. They had my bed ready. I was not staying the night. I was doing day surgery. I was given the option because I lived close enough to have day surgery. So I showed up at the hospital for 6 a.m. My surgery was set for 7 on the dot, and I was going home at 3. And literally that's what happened. But the nurses come up to you and they go, would you like to walk into the operating room? And I was like, whoa. They're like, yeah, we don't have to wheel you in. So they wheel you to the door on your little bed gurney, and then they let you get off the bed, for me anyway. And I got to walk into the operating room, and it was very surreal. It was ice cold, but I got to look around, and it was like a factory. There was like 13 people in there methodically going over everything. And I remember being like, this is kind of cool. You get up on the table, they put a warm blanket on you, they make you huff oxygen, which like I wasn't. And they kept going, Hannah, breathe the oxygen. And I was like, and I'm like looking around because I thought the oxygen was knockout gas. And I was like, I don't want to breathe this. And it was just oxygen. It was just trying to get my oxygen levels up.
No, I love it.
And then you black out and the next thing you know, you're done. But that was what it was like the week before surgery, the day before surgery, and then the day of surgery in the hospital.
Yeah. Similar, like after met the surgeon, went out, got all my stuff. They also, for us, they give you all your appointments for the year, booked out on a paper too, which is nice. And then, yeah, they brought out my OptiFast in a garbage bag.
Yeah, mine too. I had a clear garbage bag.
There's like 3 boxes of these shakes in this garbage bag that she comes trucking out with. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So it's that's when it hit me, when I got my OptiFast bag. And I was like, oh shit, like this is going down. And so yeah, we left. My pre-op was a little different because I'm further away. They did mine a little bit further out. But same thing. I had 2 pre-ops. I had the one with the anesthesiologist. And that one was funny. And then I had one with the longer one with the nurse, where they did like the blood work, the history. They go through what's going to happen the day of surgery, what your recovery is going to be like. They go through all the ins and outs and that kind of stuff. Mine were, I think, 2 weeks and 1 week before surgery. So fairly close. And then my surgery was at 8. I got there at 8:30. And then my surgery
it moves quick when you're there.
It moves real quick. So like you show up at 8:30, you sign in, they take all your info, and they tell you to follow this line and go through these doors. And all of a sudden, before you know it, like you go through 2 doors and you're in pre-op. And I just looked around. I'm like, this is, it's like some back entrance somewhere. Like, okay.
Craziness.
Yeah. So they took all my stuff. They put you in your little pre-op room.
Gotta
Say
love
they
that
put on your
gown.
gown. Then you got to wait. And then they give you the lovely blood thinner shot.
Oh, Christ. So
Which
I
was
left, I
so fun.
PTSD'd that out of my
So
brain.
fun.
Oh,
So
Christ.
then I remembered Devin was with me. And then at one point, they came to give me the blood thinner. For me, my biggest paranoia and concern was the IV.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a needle person. I'm okay with blood work. I used to not I'm not even kidding. You used to have to get 4 people to pin me down. But then doing a year of fertility treatments, I had blood work every day. I had no choice. So I'm okay with blood work, but I'd never had an IV. Terrified. And I said to the anesthesiologist, I was like, the only thing that scares me about this surgery is the IV. The surgery itself, I'm not even,
No.
The IVs literally keeps me up at night. So it's really funny because he goes, can I see your hands? And I said, sure. Because he goes, typically we put them in your hand. And I was like, I know.
Oh, that's weird. No, I had mine.
Goes, no, in my hand. And he goes, can I see your hands? And I said, sure. So I went like this and he grabbed my hands and he looks at them. And so it turns out the anesthesiologist is somebody I went to school with, all through.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning.
But I hadn't seen him since then. So anyway, he's got my hands and he's looking at them. And he looks at me and he goes, I'll figure something out.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's not what I want to hear.
I didn't have mine in my hands. I had mine in my arm.
It ended up being in my hand. But then I remember I'm in pre-op, got all my stuff, got my booty, my gown and everything on. And then I was so anxious at that point because then you sit there for 2 hours waiting to go to surgery. And so then she comes in and she goes, okay, hop on the bed. We're ready. And I had remembered you saying you walked into the operating room. And I said, for a minute, I was like, well, I want to walk into the operating room. Like, what? To walk into the operating room. So I was like, fine, whatever. So I climb on the bed. Devin leaves. Yep. See you later. Yeah. I was like, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
So then, they wheeled you in outside of the operating room. And
outside
this really
the
nice nurse came over and she said, hey, we're just sterilizing the room. We're just getting it flipped over for you. You okay? You need anything? You good? I said, yep. There was some construction happening outside. So she was trying to distract me by oh, look at what do you think they're building out there?
Yeah.
And then the anesthesiologist came out, put my IV in. That was super fun. And then he goes, okay, come on.
Yeah, you get to walk in.
Yeah. And he goes, come on. And I looked at him and said, come on, where? He goes, well, you need to go
to get in
the operating room.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So I walked in and same thing, people moving everywhere.
Oh,
looked
yeah.
Like an ant farm. People were just going.
Yeah.
And cold. Yep. And then they put you on the bed and the other surgeon comes in and introduces herself and she goes, I'm so-and-so. I'll be working
the assistant.
With the surgeon. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're strapping you down at the same time.
Yeah.
But
I was like,
okay. I was like, strap? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But then me being me, so they go to put the mask on. The surgeon comes over. He's like, you good? Yeah. Everything's fine. Yep. And I can't even remember what song it was, but there was some song playing. And I remember going, oh, I love this song.
I loved the music. Our surgeon had great taste in music.
He goes, do you want me to turn it up for you? And I was like,
cool.
Sure. So they put the oxygen mask on. And I remember singing along, trying to calm myself as the anesthesiologist is like, okay, we're pushing the drugs. Here we go.
See, they didn't even tell me that. I just blacked out.
He said it's going to burn. He's like, I'm going to warn you.
I didn't feel a thing.
It burned.
I'm pretty sure I fainted. I'm going to be 90% sure. I wasn't breathing the oxygen and just passed the fuck out.
It burnt the propofol. It burnt
didn't feel
mother. But I just remember laying there with the mask on singing and our surgeon, being over top of me, just laughing. And I was like,
yeah, I got the surgeon doing the check. And when he announces the check, it's the most regimented, so everyone's talking and moving and going, and then they stop to do the check, which is where they literally verbally walk through what surgery are we doing, who's on the table, what do we have laid out.
I didn't get
not a single person breathes or moves during this. It's cold as hell. It's really cold. It's ice fucking cold in that room. We'll do we'll split this podcast in two, folks, because we're not going to go super long, but we'll talk all about post-surgery. How about next week? We'll cancel extra, or we'll do another episode about post-surgery. So we'll make this pre and during. Yeah. The funny thing is, I came out of surgery slightly different than you, where my whole face was blue. And I remember telling Steph, bring face wipes because you'll look ridiculous.
I bought them and packed them just because of you telling me.
I love that you get to walk in because you know what? I was nervous but excited, and they really try to make you feel like this is such a great thing you're doing.
Your choice. You're here for you.
You physically have decided to do this. You're not being forced into surgery because of your health. Like, you've chosen it, and it's really empowering to do that. The worst part of surgery, the worst part is coming out of anesthesia. I had no real pain. The heparin shot burns. You're going to get a blood thinner shot.
I got more than you. I got more than you, and that made me so mad.
It burns, and it leaves a big bruise. That was the worst part about before surgery, was that heparin shot sucked. An IV actually feels less painful than getting blood taken because the needle, like, it's just...
Well, I will fight you on that one.
Oh, I thought it was easier because the nurses knew their shit, because you were getting surgical nurses. So
the anesthesiologist did it.
Oh, no, see, my nurse did it, and it went in here. So, and it goes, and away you go. And I was like, this is dope as hell.
I wanted this one, and they wouldn't do it. They said it has to be in the hand. Oh, you got it
in the arm. So everything was great. The worst part for me about surgery was coming out of anesthesia. I did not like when they woke you up in recovery. No. It's really just jarring. Like, oh my God, I did not like it. I somehow was on my side in a fetal position. Oh, I remember that when I woke up, and they're calling your name and they're shaking your foot and trying to wake you up. And I fucking hated that feeling. It was like a combination between I'm going to faint and vomit and beat the shit out of someone. It was a weird fucking feeling. It only lasts like maybe 30 minutes. And then once they think you're good, you go back to your room for recovery. And all you want to do is sleep. And I was day surgery. So I have my mother at the end of the bed like, hey,
let's go.
How you doing? And I remember I looked at her. I looked her dead in the eyes and I went, I need you to fuck off. I was so like, stop touching me. I was so cranky. And she was like, I want to go home. Get out of bed. Like, she was shaking my feet, being like, let's go. And I was like, Mom, they're not going to let me go before 3 p.m. And sure enough, the nurse came over and said, she's not going anywhere before 3 p.m. But they get you up and going. You need to start drinking almost immediately. They give you a paper and a little sippy thing, and you have to drink every 30 minutes and mark it. And then halfway through, you switch to apple juice. And can you tolerate apple juice? And then before I was allowed to go home, I had to do laps of the surgical floor. And they stood me up. They were like, okay, let's go. And I sat up. They stood me up and I went, folks, I'm about to go right the fuck back down. And they went, get back in bed. Get back in bed. And I was like, this is not. And so they put me back in bed and immediately started me on apple juice because they're like, you need some sugar. Let's go. And I did my laps around the hospital. I was cracking jokes. They were like, how do you feel? I was like I didn't have surgery. Like, I feel I'm tired and I'm very cranky and I feel very disoriented. But I think my mom feels worse than I do sitting here for 8 hours. And it was true. My mom looked horrible because she was miserable sitting there for 8 hours. So I recommend too, like, the person picking you up and dropping you off does not need to stay the whole time. Tell them to drop you off, kiss you goodbye, and come back after you're ready to go home because they're just going to sit there bored out of their mind. They will not discharge you before you do all your tests. But that was the worst part for me. Literally, the worst part was just coming out of anesthesia.
It was horrible.
And the blue.
I didn't have the blue.
So this is what's weird. So I came out of surgery.
I could be wrong because I remember waking up and bless the nurses, bless their hearts.
I love nurses.
I woke up and I woke up. When I say woke up, my eyes were still closed, but I woke up.
Yeah.
And I could feel them rubbing my shoulders. And they're like, Stephanie. Yeah, like literally rubbing my shoulders.
How nice, Steph. How nice. I got wake up.
Whoa, I got the nice shoulder rub, but I could not physically open my eyes. So I had surgery when I was little, like tubes in my ears, tonsils, but I never had surgery as an adult. So I had no idea.
Me either.
I had wisdom teeth.
I've never had surgery in my life.
Wisdom teeth was a light sedation. Like, it was IV sedation, but really light. I'd never been out. So I woke up, but I couldn't open my eyes. And it was the worst feeling in the world, like panic. My eyes would not physically open. I could hear the nurses talking. I could feel them rubbing my shoulders. And I had a little bit of gas pain, but not crazy, and a little bit of nausea. And so the nurse kept saying, like, are you good? I was like, yeah, a little bit nauseous. So they gave me that little bowl thing to hold there, which I had. But I didn't actually get sick. I just had a little bit of that. And she goes, you okay? I said, I think so. I opened my eyes for a second. I was like, nope, not happening. Right back down. And then I remembered after, but I remember opening my eyes and our internal medicine doctor being at the foot of my bed going like this. At the time, I was like, who the hell are you?
See, I didn't get to see any of these people. I got to see the surgeon. The surgeon did come, but I did not get to see.
I remember him saying, I'll see you soon. And I just, at the time, I remember going, who the hell is this?
Oh, yeah. You're very discombobulated. You're so out of it. Yeah. I woke up and no one, thank you, Mother, by the way, who was with me.
Told you about your blue?
Told me that I had blue all coming out here.
There was a nurse wiping my mouth.
Okay, so
she could have been rubbing the blue off.
What a lovely experience Steph got. You know, shoulder rubs, wipe your face.
I do remember a wet cloth being like rubbed on me. Maybe I was drooling. Maybe it was just drool.
Yeah, well, Hannah got shake her feet and get up, get up, get up.
Well,
so
I couldn't open my eyes. And I said to the nurse, I said, I feel a little bit of gas. She goes, are you in pain? And I said, I can feel some gas pain. And she goes, oh, well, if you've got gas pain, then let's get you up to your room and get you moving. And I remember laying there going, I haven't opened my damn eyes. And you're talking about getting me moving?
This is what they want.
Yeah, they wheeled me to my hospital room.
Get up, get going.
I think I was awake for like parts of.
Yeah.
But I remember the feeling of being wheeled through the hospital when you can't open your eyes and you're all like discombobulated was horrible. Yeah. I remember digging into like the rails of the bed because I just thought like I was going to float away or something.
Yep.
And then, Devin came. So then the surgeon called Devin to say, surgery's done. She's fine. She's in her room. So he came, checked on me for a bit, and I said the same thing. I said, just go, because I had to stay overnight because I lived too far from the hospital, which was fine.
Yeah.
But I said to Devin, I'm like, just go. There's no point of you being here. He was staying in Kitchener anyway. I'm like, what are you going to do? Just hang out here and watch me sleep? And then Hannah came to see me, and I remember I felt so bad because like I wanted to like hang out and talk, but I was so tired. And I remember being like, hey, how's it go? And just like my eyes would close and I was like, I can't even have a dang conversation.
Yeah.
But then, the water comes, the juice comes. The juice helps a lot once you get to apple juice.
The juice really helps. That sugar.
I was up and walking, and not in a bad way, but they kind of left me on my own. Once they realized I was holding fluids down and I was able to move, they just kind of left me. And so every half an hour, every so often, I would just get up with my IV pole and I would do my laps through and come back, hang out, get up, do my leaps. It was pretty boring, but I had no surgical pain, gas pain up here, but I didn't feel like I had surgery. I had, at one point, I remember saying to the nurse, can I lay on my side? And he's like, do whatever you want. But I was so afraid because in my head, I was like, I just had surgery. And I remember, and you have your incisions, and I remember rolling on my side and just being like,
yep.
What's the big deal?
There was some heat, but I had no pain. No. I didn't have gas pain, but I think it's because I was day surgery. So I was literally on my feet like an hour after waking up. Like I was up, going, talking, moving.
But nothing horrendous.
No pain. It really didn't feel like surgery. Again, the worst part was coming out of sedation. That sucked and is super discombobulating, and I do not like it, and I don't really want to go through that again. But overall, the surgery was less than an hour. It was super easy. There were no complications. I did not get my face wiped off. So what I'm referring to is like my mom, I looked at myself and went, what the hell, Mom? Could have told me. She's like, oh, well, that's from like the intubation tube and the tube that goes in like, down in your throat. Like they have to put this, it's like iodine almost basically, but it's to make sure you don't get bacteria in there. So when they pull this stuff out, like it's all still there. So I had blue stuff coming out my nose for like a week. And then you have to cough. They really need you to cough after surgery because you had, you were under sedation and you had tubes and stuff, just blue stuff for weeks. And I was like, ugh. So I told Steph, bring facial wipes because this was brutal. And I was like, all right, maybe your surgery was different than mine then, jerk. But like I clearly was something was different.
I asked because they told me that when I mentioned the blue, he said, yeah, we do a leak test after your surgery's done. He said, we pour dye down your throat and watch it to make sure that there's no leakage. Like because the camera's in you, right? Yeah, because the camera's in there. And he says, we watch. So I expected the same thing. And maybe they
listen, they cut corners on old Hannah, okay? They were like, get her in, get her out. She's fine.
Just dump it in her. Yeah. Fine.
That
maybe
so that's
do a leak test.
That's pre-surgery and kind of a little bit of surgery. We will do a whole other episode because we're getting too long on this one, where we'll talk about post-surgery. And we will also talk to you about the things we like about this clinic, the things we don't. And we're going to talk to you about the other option that we did not learn about till after, and why the clinic that's literally an hour away from us is so drastically different than the one that we went to, and what our thoughts are on that. So we're going to stop it here because I know it's getting long, but that is the deep dive into pre-surgery and what surgery kind of looked like the day of. We will do another episode very soon where we will talk about post-surgery recovery and the differences between our clinic and the other ones and what we like and don't like. So thanks for coming along on this extra long special edition of, surgery highlights. We really do appreciate it. We love each and every one of you that's been listening. Keep letting us know what you want to hear. Also, we want to know, do you like an hour? Do you want this to be 30 minutes? Tell us. We want to make sure we deliver the format that works best for all of you, for our listeners. But thanks for trucking along on our surgical journey episode.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
And thanks, Steph, for joining me.
Anytime, Hannah.
It's great. See you all next week, everybody.
Nice.